Alright, so I got this this oscillator working pretty fluid now. And it does kind of some unique stuff that it didn't originally do. One, it judges... Ooh, that was cool. So it kind of judges there's like a cone that comes out from the missile. And that cone is the precision, so 15 degrees to the right or left. So if it's in with a 30-degree cone in front of the missile, it will start to oscillate. Now when it comes around, say it's like swooping around from the left, and so the airplane enters on the negative 15-degree side of the cone in front of the missile, then the missile will take, the first oscillation will take it to the left, to make sure to swing it into the airplane, not away from the airplane. Because if the first oscillation starts to try to oscillate it to the right while it's taking a left towards the airplane, then it will bump it out of that oscillating cone, and then it kind of gets stuck there as it just bounces on the oscillating cone, because it keeps the first oscillation will send it to the right over and over and over and over, and so it'll never finish its turn to the left. I'll kind of show you and explain it to you, but so get the missiles turned in here. So right now, see, the missile's coming around to the left, so it's got this cone coming out in front of it, 15 degrees either side. And if the airplane enters that cone, more or less, then it tells the missile to begin oscillating. So, and if that way it doesn't oscillate throughout these turns. I don't want it to oscillate at all throughout turns. So it just turns the oscillator off. All of a sudden the airplane enters the cone, which I call oscillation precision. It's the cone in front of it. Then, since it's making a left-hand turn right now, I tell it to oscillate to the left first. And that kind of does two things. One, it simulates the missile sort of overshooting the airplane, because the first oscillation takes it so it swings a little bit too far to the left. Which, like I said, simulates overshooting the aircraft. Adds a little bit of an advantage to the player as I've got it kind of tweaked well. So you can kind of anticipate the missile overshooting you, like in this scenario where the missile's turning at close range. And the other thing is that it prevents, I kind of made that happen on accident, or out of necessity, I'll say, because if the missile right now, it enters that cone to the left. So if the oscillator tells the missile to turn to the right first, to begin oscillating to the right, then it will tap the missile to the right, and now that cone shape won't include the airplane again. So then the missile's like, oh, stop oscillating. And then the next frame it takes a turn back to the airplane. Airplane enters the cone. That frame says, okay, cool, airplane's within the cone, turn the oscillator on. Oscillator oscillates to the right. Next frame, it turns just a little bit, plane's back out of the cone. And so I was having missiles just like zooming by, like off to the side. I couldn't figure out why, and that's exactly why, because the oscillator was just kind of tapping the cone, so the cone was just kind of bouncing on the airplane, more or less. So I made it so that the first revolution, as it enters from the left, if it's making a right-hand turn, then I will tell it to make its first oscillation to exaggerate the right-hand turn first. Like I said, which does two things. So you'll see this missile. See it right now. It's pointing this way because the oscillator is telling it to oscillate to the left, and then it swings back to try to catch up. Now, the oscillation max. See, I've got it down here. The oscillation max. I don't know. You probably can't read that, but so more or less, when the missile's like way down here, the oscillation length is 1 world unit. So that's 1 world unit on the airplane. So it'll oscillate basically from this point to this point. But 1 box is 1 world unit. So about to right here to about to right here. When it's at least 4 units away. So when it's 1, 2, 3, 4. When it's way back here, it will oscillate between here and here. So more or less the missile will keep going back and forth targeting between these 2 points. Now as it moves in closer, it's just a perfect ratio. So it scales down at a perfect ratio, 1 to 1. So at 3 world units in, then it will oscillate 3/4 of that original distance. And as it gets into 1/2, it will only oscillate to these 2 points. And as it gets into 1 world unit, it's 1/4 of the original distance. So it'll be 1/4 of a world unit either way. And that way, when the missile comes in at the end, like it starts out squirrely from far away. And this missile's kind of hard because this missile always stays close to you. See it like at the end there, it kind of like tightens up. If I put in the faster missile, you can see it because the faster missile sucks at turning. So you can see it'll have quite a bit of a wobble to it at long distance. But as it comes in towards the end, it like tightens up. It's kind of hard to tell, but it is actually happening. See, that's kind of weird. Yeah, see, that guy's, I set him up to be kind of squirrely. Because he's faster, so I want him to be a little more sporadic. See, it does that little tiny overshoot. I can just sit there and file it down 1/10 of a unit at a time to kind of like dial it in. Turn his oscillation length down just a touch. Okay, there we go. Now we get a long one. But he got really far away on that one. See, he's oscillating and oscillating, and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and tightens up right at the very end there. Just like a missile that's actually getting, like, homing in on its target. But it still gets squirrely. It just doesn't have as far to bounce back left and right. That's pretty cool. And then when you put, I kind of liked that, just it's that little tiny, it's crazy now I'm like doing the, like a little bit more gameplay. So just tiny little changes make a huge difference in the actual gameplay. The speed of how these missiles turn makes them unbelievably easy to hit or unbelievably impossible to hit together. So you kind of have to like balance it out so that they, so that it's possible for the player to win more or less. Anyway, I just wanted to show you. Oh, actually, maybe I'll just for the hell of it, I'll do this one and exaggerate the hell out of it. So if I make the oscillation length like 6 or something ridiculous, you'll see it really doing some serious oscillating. So now it's trying to go 6 world units out either way in its oscillation. Let's just try 3. 6 might. It's so weird in the way the speed works. Plays an important role. I wonder if we turn this, because I'd love it if it swung like super far and then as it comes in close, make it like 10. It's weird and gets in closer. Certainly get some strange effects out of it. Oh, that, I wonder if I take this up to like actually, yeah, like 60 degrees, put the length at like 10, oscillating speed at like 6. This is gonna have some strange behavior. Okay, 10 might be a bit much. So I can get it to wildly, and then it kind of like, see, and then towards the end it kind of comes in together. 3, it's a little more reasonable. See that? That's pretty cool. You just kind of find like the right ratios. If I were to code it probably better, I could have those ratios. But I'm not like Isaac Newton, unfortunately. Yeah, see, that's super cool. It's funny, it's just kind of like a mathematical, it's like every time it will do the same big sweepy turn. It's so cool. Anyway, I just want to show you that